Oh,
Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to another rad episode of Taryn Swears. And again, I am super stoked for this one. I have such a truly special lady that I have the honor of having you guys hear her story. So, in a minute, you're going to get to meet Brittney McWethy, which I had the privilege of meeting Brittney in a coaching group, the Lion's Den. And then I got to meet her in person a couple
mhm.
months ago. And you know, when you meet those people and you're just like, you are exactly the person that I thought and knew you would be. And I feel like I'm really fortunate because there's a lot of people like that in my life. I haven't really come across someone's like, ooh, you're not the person I thought you were. But it's always just like, it just comes full circle and just, all the feels when you meet them in person. And, I'm in Idaho and Brittany's in Colorado. And I had the opportunity to work with her as we met through the Lion's Den and wanted to really kind of expand on some of her nutrition. So we dove into talking about macros. And then we took a 6-month journey in working through that process with her. And so you guys are going to be able to hear her version of it and her story and all of that come together today. So, Brittany, thank you for being willing to take the time and come on here and share your story.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I'm really excited. And I want to say that I'm really proud of you for starting this podcast because you are a knowledge, you have so much knowledge to share with the world. And so this is amazing. I'm
Oh,
glad I could be
thanks.
here.
Thanks. Well, you know what? You are one of the people that encouraged me to do it. I feel like I have like three people. I have four fingers up, but there's really should be three. For those of you guys that are watching on YouTube, you're like, okay, why does she have four fingers? But for those of you listening on the podcast, good, you didn't see that. I really feel like I had three people that made a big impact, and you were a significant role in having me just do it. And you're like, just do it. Don't overthink it. Just fucking do it. And so here we are, and I'm honored that you would be one of my first few guests to be interviewed. So you've got
Yeah.
such a great story, and I wanted to kind of allow people to experience your journey kind of up until maybe you can talk about where you started before we met. Like, where were things going to the point where we were like, oh my God, and then maybe like a divine intervention, the stars aligned, whatever, and we got to talking and meeting in the Lion's Den. So maybe you can start us there.
Absolutely. Hi guys, I'm Brittany. I've been on a fitness journey for most of my life. When I stopped playing soccer in high school, I kind of was like, I didn't like going to the gym. I always knew if I would work well if someone told me what to do. Um, and I went through a phase of my life where I got super heavy, and then finally, a door opened for me back then. 15. Wait, that's a long time ago. Somewhere around like 24 years old, and I started my CrossFit journey, and I did that for 15 years, and it really taught me so much about like health, fitness, nutrition. I got to be competitive again because I love being competitive in soccer. And then it started to hurt my body, like it was just not feeling that great in my back, and so I stopped. And then I've been like, because I knew how important it was to stay fit and how important it was mentally, that I just started these other fitness journeys with functional fitness gyms. And so I love the gym that I was going to in California. Yes, I'm out here now in Colorado Springs, and the gyms are not close to me. I kind of live out in the boondocks a tiny bit, and there is a CrossFit gym close to me, but I'm like, no. And so I don't like that vibe over there, anyways. So fortunately, I've had a gym in the house, and I use Peloton. And I was totally like against this like Peloton cult. And I'm like, Brittany, you do all these cults of like CrossFit and all this stuff. But I thought it was just like running and rowing. So I got to experience like what they have to offer. And Peloton really offers a lot. And the trainers are exceptional and they're fun. And it really gets you moving. And so I really have tried to stick to working out at the same time. Sometimes I get a little lazy because I'm not going somewhere, and I might work out a little bit later. But there was something going on with my body. I don't know who's listening out there, but I swear to God, you turn 39 going into your 40s and your body's like it just completely changes. And so like I feel like I'm pretty educated in what I need to eat in my food. And I started this plant-based journey about 4 years ago, which I'm not doing anymore, just to try it, and I felt pretty good on it, but honestly, you eat a lot of processed foods in there, which I don't like processed foods and I really try to stay away from it. But some of the things it was kind of hard and like my body just was not giving up anything. Like my aunt will tell you, Brittney, I see her go downstairs to the gym every single day, 5 times a week. She eats great. I drink probably once a week, if that. And because I'm so obsessed with trying to keep my body in shape, which is also like a mental block, I think, too, from like my childhood
Hmm.
and what I was told. And so I was like, you know what? I just need to hire somebody. But thankfully, with the Lion's Den, you have so much opportunity to meet so many people in there. And I met Taryn in there. I watched some of her videos. And I was like, that's my girl. I just felt it in my body. Like I just wanted to have somebody tell me exactly what I need to do with my body because I've never been with a trainer that totally knew what I should eat. Like I had coaches who kind of played off of like, oh, try this, try this, try this. It wasn't like unique to me. And so, and I love that she had a holistic approach. And that was really important to me. I don't like putting synthetic things, processed things in my body. So that's when I started this journey with her. And I have been on birth control since I was 17 years old. I'm officially off birth control since April. So that's really awesome. And I've learned so much from Taryn. Learning really what my macros are. I've learned how to work out with my cycle. She has introduced me to Idaho Health and Hormones Clinic, which both of them combined like really changed my life. Like I wasn't sleeping that great. I would crash every day at like 2 or 3 o'clock. And I was just like, how am I going to do this life when I want to do so much more?
Hmm.
So the clinic has now put me on non-synthetic like hormones, like I'm on thyroid, progesterone, um, and they've really helped change my mood. I feel a lot happier. I mean, I tend to be a pretty happy person, like let's be honest. But
You
I
are
am like
great energy.
much happier. I feel content with who I am and like where my body is. Like I still have some work to do. My body is like loves to play the slow game,
Hmm.
very, very slow.
Yep.
At the same time, if I started taking pictures and Taryn and I were like, wow, you could see the difference. And that's really cool. So we know it's working. It's working. And I rather go the slow route, like diet fads and all this stuff, like, oh, lose 20 pounds in a week. Girl, that's not gonna happen. You're gonna gain it right back.
Oh my God, I'm so
So
excited for that. Yes.
yeah. So it's really important to like know the people that you're working with that they like jive with you. Maybe they have similar experiences, which can really help you choose a trainer or a nutritionist. Um, that's my opinion, but I think it's really valuable. And what's cool about her program is that even though like I'm out of it now, I can still go back and read through her macro minded courses at any time that I want. So I utilized her for 6 months. I feel like I'm in a really good place of knowing my macros, unless I, lose more weight, then we'll just adjust that. But
Yep.
I know what to do. So just working on my macros, working out. But I also want to enjoy my life. And so I enjoy my life with smarter choices.
Good.
Yeah. And
I
that's
love
a big
that.
thing. Yeah.
Well, now a couple things that you brought up that I hope you don't mind if we kind of expand on, because I think everybody has a journey that before they get up into this phase of their life, right? Like we're in our 40s and we recognize, like you said, once you turn 39, your hormones were like, what the fuck? We kind of go, oh my God, why, what happened? Right? Like a
Yeah.
flip switches. And so it's not just a matter of, okay, I'm going to jump in and do this, right? Like
Mhm.
there's still a lot that has to be nourished, not just from a nutritional standpoint, but just from a mindset and a mental health perspective too, right? So you talked about a little bit that your relationship with food, and you were a competitive athlete growing up, but can you spend a little bit of time, and do you mind sharing a little bit about what your relationship was with food? Like, what was your upbringing around it? Because I
Mhm.
think that paints the picture, right? Like, our
Mhm.
whole journey through diet and exercise stems
Right.
from a lot of times our influences when we're younger, right? So
Absolutely.
me being a parent and wanting to influence my kids to learn like why it's important to move our bodies, not
Right.
because it's a physical, response and that you want to have six pack abs. Like, this is just a lifelong tool.
Right.
So you've been in sports, but what was your upbringing around food? Like, what was your relationship with it as a
That's
kid?
a great question. It's a great question. And this is, I have to add, this is what Taryn is going to help you break whatever cycle you have, which is how she talks to you and like guiding you and just like having the ability to talk to her and talk through these things. So, growing up, I'm the oldest of five. And, back then nutrition wasn't really talked about. We didn't make a lot of money. And so, and this is like, something my parents just didn't see or know. My mom had a very obese mom. And so she just ate like a bird. And, because she just did not want to be that.
Right.
But again, she had five kids, so what's affordable? Cereal, hot dogs, macaroni and cheese, quesadillas. She'd
Mhm.
make like the white version of like enchiladas. Um, that's pretty much what we ate. We had cereal like every morning, like the most sugariest kind. There would be like 10 boxes open because there's five of us all wanting different things, and I would come home every day like from high school and like or middle school, and I would eat a quesadilla. Like I would just throw it on the stove and heat up a quesadilla. These are all like very terrible foods, like yeah, they're like yummy and stuff, but I was brought up on chemicals. And so when I was in 5th grade, you guys, like I had to wear a bra and the girls noticed and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're wearing a bra." And some girls would wear a bra just because I was wearing a bra, but I was like totally like an outsider, totally an outsider. And my body was just like growing like at rapid speed. I have stretch marks on my boobs, my thighs, my butt cheeks from growing so fast. And that's because all I did was eat chemicals. I had no idea. And then on top of that, I know my mom noticed my body changing a lot. And thank God I wasn't soccer because I was obsessed with soccer and I love soccer. But if I knew what I knew now and I was eating like now, like back then, man, I can't even imagine. Right.
Yeah.
But because my mom had trauma with, her upbringing and how she felt about herself, when she would see me, overeat or like, not fit into my clothes. And, she was the one that would give me like XXL Christmas presents in socks and pajamas that they were too big for me. She shamed my body. She, said I was overweight or fat all the time.
Oh,
And so that is very traumatizing for a
yeah.
child when you don't know why. You tell yourself that, like, oh, I guess I'm just big boned, or it runs in the family because of my grandma, like, and my grandma's an amazing woman. I love her. But you just don't know why. And so you're feeling all these feelings and you're feeling a certain way because you're eating chemicals and it's such blockage, as we know now, in your mind and physically too. So it always feel bad. Even when I was working out or playing soccer, like, I always thought I was fat, like always thought I was fat. And mentally, that's not a great thing to bring into your life when you're trying to lose weight, because when you constantly think about, if I don't work out that day, if I don't eat that good, I'm gonna be fat, you know? And so I had to break the cycle and I'm still working on that, but I've come a long way, especially this year
Yeah.
because of the coaching group, because of Taryn, and because of like breathe work things that I have done to really, really love myself. And but it was a struggle. Like we didn't know any better. We didn't know any better. And so I don't really find that it's like my parents' fault at all. Like that was like what was on sale. My mom would used to, magnet the coupon from the grocery store because she was like a coupon person. She would save like $400 when she go to the store. Like I kid you not. She was
Amazing.
crazy.
Yeah.
But what's cheap?
Yeah.
What's cheap? It's
Yeah.
all the processed chemical foods. Like, what are you going to do? And so again, like overdeveloping, you have brain fog, you don't feel good about yourself, and you kind of feel like this little or big black sheep everywhere you go. And so that's kind of how I was brought up with
No,
food.
and I feel like a lot of people probably can relate to that.
Mhm.
And whether it's because they grew up in a similar arrangement with, finances
Mhm.
strapped a bit, so, the cheaper the food to feed more mouths, that's kind of how
Right.
it had to go. And also, too, that generation didn't necessarily, you only knew what you knew, right? Like,
Yeah.
I we were raised like we were a meat and potatoes family. So, and my dad had a job from 6 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then we sat down at the dinner table, and we were like the clean plate club, right? So if you didn't finish everything on your plate, you couldn't leave the table. And then I, figured out how to shove them into we had little drawers in our kitchen table. But what I think a lot of people need to reflect on, and I bring up a lot with clients, and I know we talked about this because this is how we got to the root of a lot of things, is
Right.
addressing these past relationships with food. It's so important for people to go and recognize that, right now, it's not just like starting today, I'm going to start eating better. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of mess that goes into overhauling your whole lifestyle, right? Like it's not just I'm gonna rip off the band-aid and start cold turkey.
Right.
There's a lot that has to kind of come in because all these influences come in and rear their heads from that might blindside you, and we don't necessarily think it's probably my relationship I had with food when I was a kid. It's probably the way my parents taught me and what they put on our plate, because guess what, our kids, and as a kid, you only ate what your parents put in front of you because that's what you felt and deemed healthy. Because we didn't really think about, should I eat this? Is this healthy? We trusted
Right.
our parents. They put it in front of us, right?
Right.
But the words and the feeling that come from those, right? So the feeling you had when you ate those foods, the brain fog, the low energy, the weight gain, the
Yeah.
black sheep mentality, and I mean, we can go into a whole new episode about just growing so fast. Like kids are getting
Yeah. Oh
food
yeah.
at such early ages.
Right.
And I've got a whole other thought on that, but that's not really, we won't go down that rabbit hole. But that's the unfortunate thing because the food industry is so
Yeah.
warped. And it even was back then. So addressing your relationship with food, I think, was a very vital part to your cleansing process and this whole
Right.
journey. And so I think it was really, I really appreciate you sharing that because I know it's very personal. But I also think that it's other people might have that light bulb moment. So I
Yeah.
wanted them to hear that in your story, because there's a lot of competitive athletes, like adults that were former competitors, and they want to find that competitive drive,
Yes.
And so, okay, I'm competitive. I can stick with something for 8 weeks. Like, great. Okay, then what happens after that? So it's a
Yeah.
matter of fueling that mindset and addressing some of those roadblocks that maybe happened as a kid that you don't
Right.
really think about until somebody prompts you to, you know.
Right. And
Um,
that's why I was so thankful for CrossFit because I did learn those things that you are setting yourself up in a lifestyle.
mhm.
And I've been studying, just like food and nutrition for 20 years. I'm not an expert or anything, obviously, but you learn more and more and more as you go. And then, I mean, our government has been doing it for years. I mean, look at back in the day when they had ads that cigarettes were good. They've been doing it for
Totally.
years. They've been trying to slowly trap you into these things so you need them more. And that's
Yep.
a rabbit hole. But once you recognize that, but also when you recognize the root of your problem, and this is what, Taryn helped me do is like, why? We got down to the root of the problem, and I was like, oh, okay, I
Hmm.
understand that. I need to work on that to unbreak my mind of how I felt back then, because I can look in the mirror today and be like, damn, girl, you look good. You look good. So,
And you do. You guys have to go stalk Brittany, and I'll make sure that you guys have access to. I can find her on Instagram because she did share some of her before and afters, and I
Mhm.
love it too because you hit the nail on the head in that you prefer the slow and steady game. I mean, back in the day, and if you had a lie detector test, if someone's like, well, if you could lose 10 pounds in 10 days, wouldn't you love that? Of course, who wouldn't love that? But you approach this from a very healthy perspective in that, you know what, I'm tired of all of the short term quick fix trends that aren't sustainable because I don't want to gain anything back. I'm sick and tired of this, up and down, side and side. And so you were prepared for this being in a journey, and we committed to 6 months, and we said, hey, let's see what kind of damage we can do in 6 months, meaning let's see what
Yeah.
we can really learn. And you were open-minded and you were willing to kind of release anything from the past because we
Mhm.
bonded over the CrossFit thing. I was a CrossFit
Yeah.
trainer, and I loved the community and the group that I got to work out with and train with. And it was like that athletic mentality that you have never dies, right?
Never.
Especially the competitive drive. So being able to tap into that, but open to coaching, right? So and
Right.
was very upfront and said, "Hey, are you willing to release anything that you've learned before and be open-minded to this process?" Which you were.
Yeah.
And we talked about it being a slow and steady because you are very active. And
Mhm.
we also, which I want to talk about here in a second too, is we had a lot of hormones that we're working against too. So there were so many
Right.
unknown factors when it comes to hormones because I didn't know what, was going on all these, what the impact that birth controls had on your body after all these years. And
Right.
until we were able to get your hormone panels done, and grateful for Idaho Health and Hormone that was able to actually support you in another state. They were great. You did your blood. They evaluated it, consulted you on where, kind of had some um, discrepancies in your hormones and said, okay, look at, we need to approach your thyroid. We need to look at your progesterone, get you on your uh, what would you say? Test,
It's
thyroid,
thyroid and progesterone. That's it.
just those two.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that coupled with changing diet, we knew that it was going to be a little bit of an experiment because nothing is
Mhm.
responsive in that amount of time, especially when we're working with hormones and
Right.
not synthetics. We're working with bioidenticals, right? Which is one thing
Yeah.
that they're very passionate about, which
That's
is why I
amazing.
enjoy them so much. But
Yeah.
I did want to bring up the part about birth control because that was one of our initial conversations is
Right.
I asked you about birth control and how long you've been on it. So could you maybe share a little bit about what some of those glaring things that you knew you could point the finger at birth control and maybe what prompted you to say, okay, I want to get off of it?
Absolutely. I mean, and then, like when you don't have supportive anything, and this is again, this is not like totally against my parents, you know what I mean? Like they were brought up not to talk about it, or we were brought up super religious. We didn't talk about that kind of stuff. It was just like don't have sex till you get married or you're gonna sin your whole life, you know? So, but that was not me. And so like what do? You go to Planned Parenthood. And the first thing I think I tried was like the pill. And that was really annoying because the pill you have to take every day and you're a teenager and you're gonna mess up with that. Then I tried the depot shot, and this is when I was a senior in high school, and that effed me
Oh,
up.
God, the horror stories.
It effed me up. I mean, I was psycho. I was also depressed at that time, but I remember like dating this guy, poor, poor guy. And I was just like, I was driving, he was in the car, and I was just raged with whatever was going on. And I just felt like a complete bitch. I felt like evil had taken over me and I could not control it. And, I remember like swerving down the street. He's like freaking out and I went crazy on him, but I knew it was a depot shot, but it's still like you're teenagers and you're just like, what the fuck? I'm dating this psycho bitch, but I literally went psycho. So I was really glad when that part was over. And I don't really remember what I did after that, but then I was on the new ring And throughout the years, I would go off of it for like 3 months or 6 months just to give my body a break because I knew it wasn't good for me. Like,
Mm,
I knew, like, my body thought I was pregnant, and so what happens is your body holds on to all these fluids, it holds on to fat, holds on to all these things, so you always feel like you're walking around Blubber Town all over your body. Um, it's true, man.
I don't think I've heard that one
Especially
before.
Especially I
I'll
think
take
I
it.
just made that up, but
Yeah.
especially in my midsection, it was always like, if you looked at my stomach, you'd probably be like, "Oh, she probably has had a baby before." Like, my stomach looks like that. I don't have stretch marks, but it's just loose, and, I've never had a six pack. I don't really care, but, like, and then I think I tried, the Mirena one time,
Okay.
because I got pregnant off birth control. Now, this is with somebody I did not really like. It was after we broke up. Well, before we broke up, we had sex, but after we broke up is when, I was like, "What is going on? Like, this is super weird." And then I took a pregnancy test like 6 weeks later, and I was like, "No shit," right? Like,
Yeah.
and so I had a schmishmortion, because I wanted to go back to school. I wanted to try to buy a house and I didn't want to be with that guy. I didn't want that guy in my life forever. So you know what? I made that choice.
Mhm.
And I still am very proud of myself for making that choice because I had a lot of people telling me not to do that. But I was like, I want to live my life and I don't want that man in my life. I want to raise a family as a whole unit. That was always my dream. And so, thankfully, when I had the schmishmortion, it was already gone, so that was, like, very peaceful, but I had them put an IUD in there because I was like, "I don't want that to ever happen again." And then I didn't have a period for, like, the longest time, I think, like, 3 years, and I always thought that was so weird.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice, but I'm like, "That's so weird," and I just could not mentally get over that, so I had it taken out, and then I was on the NuvaRing for so long because it didn't make me feel like I was going psycho. And I've tried pills, I've tried all these things, and, like, all of them make me feel psycho, and then in the health insurance world, if you don't have good insurance, you cannot get you have to buy the synthetic version of the better version of birth control.
Oh yeah.
It's such a joke.
Yeah.
And then the NuvaRing is like $150 every time you buy a ring, and I was like, "This is so stupid. I don't feel like I should have to pay that much money to protect myself." And, so I would continue to go to Planned Parenthood, and thank God for Planned Parenthood. Every Planned Parenthood that I've ever went to, those doctors are phenomenal. They are phenomenal, doing their job. They're so nice. They're very, very sweet. They educate you. I mean, that's what they're there for. But I hope to see Planned Parenthood also educating, like, let's do something else where you don't have to put this toxic thing in your
Mm.
body.
Yeah.
Because I also think it changes how you think about things. And this is only because I'm off birth control now. Like, you think a little bit differently because your body doesn't think that you're pregnant. I swear to God. Like,
Yeah. It's a
like, and
chemical. I mean, there's just this communication pattern that's
totally.
been disrupted once
Yeah.
you got the hormones, the synthetic hormones flushed out of your system. Which,
Right.
do we know how long that takes?
I don't
There's
exactly.
who knows, right? Like you're always going to have a residual
Yeah.
of some of it. You're going to, whether it's in your ovaries, whether it's you experience fibroids or cysts or PCOS, which a lot of people have, as a result from being on birth control and all sorts of different kinds,
Yeah.
right? So, the
Absolutely.
medley you've been on, unfortunately, too, but in good fortune, I feel like you came to terms going, okay, full stop. I need to release this from my body. It's never sat well with you, right? You
No,
mentioned
no,
that.
I mean, I had my body always is bloated. I actually had, precancerous cells on my cervix about 6 or 7 years ago, because my pap smears would be, like, off and on, and they finally did all these other things, and, I know for a fact because I know my body very, very well, and, like, I know that was caused by birth control.
Yep.
I
Yep.
just have this feeling and, like, my gut feeling's always right, because I knew something was wrong in my body. I always felt like something was wrong in my body because of birth control. I never felt totally whole, and today, I feel like me. I feel whole and complete, And then like I'm excited about to continue this journey. But like birth control, like, yes, I didn't get pregnant, when I didn't want to. I mean, I did, but that story already. I just said it. But at the same time, like it's so interesting how you never feel right in your mind.
Yeah.
I can't explain it. And
Well, rightly so.
yeah,
you know? And I think whenever you've got a chemical enhancement in your system for such a long time, your body's been tricked to think it's been pregnant for how long, you
right,
know? And that's the thing that I feel like one of those statements is relevant here is if I knew now, if I knew then what I know now, I think all of us would make different choices, I mean,
absolutely.
duh. But we can't go back in time. But what we could do is we could take that information and hopefully influence somebody to learn from what we went through, And I
Right.
love that you've been so in tune with your body because I think a lot
Mhm.
of women, they've kind of lost touch with the ability to be intuitive, to listen to our guts, to go, something's not right, and then
Right.
do something about it. I mean, most want to do something about it, but then we go to professionals and they want to mask it. Like, well, you know what? Let's take you off this birth control and put you on this one. Instead of, hey, you know what? Let's address the root cause. Why do you think you are feeling fucking crazy?
Yeah.
Like, why are you having this rage? Let's address that. And I feel like that's the kind of the evolution of the process when start the light bulbs start going off and sirens and signals, but you
Yeah.
listen, you recognize something was amiss, and it took you to your 40s to go, okay, full stop, I'm done. Like, there's
Yeah.
something misfiring and I want myself back. And so
Right.
you took control of that, and your first step, I think, was obviously us working together and cleaning up.
It
There
was.
wasn't a whole lot to clean up because you did eat really clean, because you would send me your diet of your food log,
Yeah.
and it was really clean. So, it was like I got to get really nitpicky,
Yeah, you
and we
did,
made
which
some,
is great.
yeah, well, we made some really just general changes. I think we cut up bananas initially and
Yeah.
a couple things here and there, but then it was like, okay, look at, you're doing significant strength training. You're very strong. So your
Mhm.
body's got this muscle memory. So it's conditioned already to be intense in the gym, and that's the only way right? When you work
Yeah.
out, and I know you've done yoga and you've done some,
Yeah.
those more relaxing mindfulness type practices, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But I also know you love to go hit your workout. So we had to take all of that information and go, okay, let's develop a plan based on what your body's feeling. And all we're going to do is we are going to just jack up your protein, and we're going to take inventory of how you feel after that. And that was really where we set things off, right?
Right.
And then
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've never
we moved
eaten
from
so
there.
much in my life, like eating that many carbs, because obviously I eat more carbs than anything in my diet. My fat's still low and my protein's pretty high. And I think it's like 150, right? 150 protein. It's like 250 grams of carbs and 60 grams fat. And like my body loves it because it feels fueled. It feels like it's on fire, like in a good way. I haven't really felt sluggish. I mean, I was feeling weird because I cut out bananas a long time ago because I knew they weren't good for me, but I never knew why. And then I was like, but I love bananas. So I started eating them again. And some women, as Taryn taught me, like they can cause a lot of bloatage. Like there are things that cause bloatage in your family, bloatage in your body. But that is why I hired Taryn. I mean, I knew that like I knew in the back of my head, especially before I met Taryn and started listening to her, I'm like, it's my fucking birth control. And I know she's going to save my life because of that. And I really, really feel that way.
Oh,
I
thank
really
you.
do.
God, I feel like that's such a huge kind of like role that I play. And then, I know that
Yeah.
I helped you out, but to have it said in that light, just, I mean, it really means a lot. And I just think it takes somebody that is an outsider looking in, like you live in
Yeah.
your body, you do the same thing over and over, and then it just takes
Right.
one person to look at something that's glaring to say, this is what we need to address.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm really actually grateful for my education and going back to this and picking this holistic journey on my education because I didn't want to just know one thing that came out of a textbook and that was the only way to think. I wanted to have this expansive way to say, Brittney is going to be different than Sarah, and Sarah's going to be different than Kim, and Kim's different than Susie, or whoever else. Like everybody's got a different journey and a different upbringing with food,
Yeah.
culture, a different desire, different goals, different just
Right.
everything. So it can't be this cookie cutter plan. So I really appreciate you being willing to get so open and raw through the process. And I
Oh
know
yeah.
it's just your personality,
I
but
did.
I do think that people need to hear that. Like it's a
Yeah.
bumpy journey and there's going to be bumps in the road down the way, but you've got an abundant of tools and that, anyone that goes through any of my courses, my clients have indefinite access. So,
Yeah.
that as I learn and study new material, that I publish it in the members portal, like that's always going to be an avenue for you to continue education and be able to know, like now Brittney knows how to go and okay, I got to a place where I'm really content. I've dropped some body fat, I've picked up some lean muscle, but I really want to do this. Like everybody goes through a season. Some you just want to
Right.
maintain, some like, hey, I want to cut more, or you know what? I actually want to bulk so then I can cut and really lean out. Like it's kind of fun and, a really
Right.
cool way to just sometimes you want to do it and sometimes you don't. But now you know how to do it. And
Yeah.
that's the best part. So, I'm excited to watch you continue since we had that 6 months together and from the get-go I said, hey, listen, I don't want you to have to rely on me for the rest of your life, and
Right.
you didn't want to either. We
Right.
wanted to, as friends, we knew that our friendship was never going to fade, but
Yeah.
I wanted to work my way out of a job with you because I wanted you to feel confident knowing this wasn't going to be an 8-week commitment, that if I didn't have Taryn in my life
Right.
I was going to fail,
Yeah.
or if
Yeah.
I didn't eat what she told me to eat beyond the 8 weeks or the 6 months, that
Yeah.
I would just revert back to old habits, and I know you won't.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like not just because she's my friend, because I really have made friends. Like, if even if I wasn't her friend through this process, I know because of the kindness of her heart, like I can check in with her and just ask her some questions. You know what I mean? If I'm like, I can ask her some questions. I don't have to feel bad about asking her a question. And I mean, I think altogether I have lost 10 pounds, like being with, or like 9 pounds, because I started writing down my food, I think like 2 months prior of hiring you. Because I like got up to like 200, 199, like again, and I hadn't gotten up to that since my dad passed away. And that was before I even started working out. But with COVID and trying to, do all these things and then moving here and dating like the wrong guy or whatever, there was an influence, also my choice of like, drinking too much or eating this or eating like a lot of like cheese and whatever. And
Yeah.
so I was like, whoa, like what is happening? And so I was like, I got to start logging again. And I'm not plant-based anymore. I feel like as long as I know where these animals are coming from, I was okay with eating meat again. And I just I just understand more because like what's great about putting your stuff in my fitness pal is you can put your dinner in if you know you're going out. I love that. I didn't know I could do that. Like I know that's a simple thing.
Vlogging, it's genius, right?
Belonging is genius, like genius, like I have my 40th birthday party early. It's this Saturday. I'm probably not going to pre-log my food, but because it's a party, I'm celebrating my birthday. But the thing is that I still will think about what I'm doing. I went to Mexico in September, for example, to celebrate my 40th birthday with my other best friend who is 40. And I made actually the good choices the whole time. I worked out when I was there because I felt good
Hmm.
because I wasn't eating crap. Because if I eat crap, then I'm not going to feel good and I'm not going to enjoy my trip. So I just worked out. I, ate really good. I drank a lot. But usually when I go on vacation, I can gain like 10 pounds in
Oh
like
yeah, it's like a free for all.
I gained 2 pounds from that trip, 2
Amazing.
freaking pounds. And I was like, okay, like this is
Yep.
what's happening, like this is amazing because of what I've learned and because I feel so much better, not having these toxins in my body. especially when it comes to birth control and being guided with, having someone to talk to that got to the root of things, not just being like, oh, here, try this meal plan. Like, no, it's so much more than that. And that's what people don't know. They don't understand. But it's really, when it comes down to working hard, it's about getting uncomfortable. You have to get uncomfortable with yourself.
Hell yeah. You got to get vulnerable and raw, and you did it. You faced a lot of demons. You faced a lot of um memories and experiences that were probably unpleasant, but they had to be a part of the whole process. You know,
Yeah.
and now I love that it's just a part of your life. That's just like something that you do,
Yeah.
go and travel, because you're going to travel and you should. You should go out to
Yeah.
dinner. You should be able to go on dates. You should be able to go on vacation, and this become a part of your life because you've created this balance that, are you going to go and indulge when you go on a trip? Absolutely. Are you
Yeah.
still going to work out and have, the activity and hydrate and work on sleep and, absolutely. Like that's just becomes a part of your, you know, just lifestyle. It's a lifestyle thing now. So, anytime we go on a trip, I'm always strategizing where my workout's going to be. Like, where's the gym? What are my
Yeah.
workouts going to be while I'm gone? And then it's probably the first thing that I pack. So
Yeah.
I love that you had that experience, and you've been able to celebrate your birthday for as long as you have. Like, how fun and
I know, right?
yeah. So the real thing is this Saturday, right?
So my real birthday is next Friday on
Next
the
Friday.
4th,
Okay.
November 4th. But because I'm obsessed with Halloween, like my 30th, I had a huge, huge party in California. I mean, I love decorating. I'll make my own props, and I had 60 people at my 30th, I had DJ, photographer, like you name it. It was so cool because I like the experience, and so like I'm doing that this year. Obviously, the party is going to be like a lot smaller, but it's mainly my family, which is really cool, and making my own props. And it's really fun and creative for me, but it's because like I feel good. I feel so much better than I did before I started working with Taryn, and also being in a coaching group, just like totally changing my mental outlook on life and myself, and knowing that I'm enough, you know? And so like I didn't get to work out this morning because I had an interview earlier this morning with Carly Olson, who
Yeah.
she's another nutritionist. And I was like, ooh, cool. Like two nutritionists, like totally two different like ways, but like to the core, you guys are both the same and like no BS. I love that. And
Great.
so I was like, well, I get to work out on Saturday because I'm actually not working on Saturday and I'm decorating the house, and so I'll eat good, and like and until the party comes, like there's probably I'm gonna, when you have a party, you order pizzas and whatever, because you're just like, whatever, it's fine. People are drinking. Here's a pizza. Like, and I don't really eat pizzas that much. So I'm like, I'm gonna have a piece of pizza on my birthday party.
Yeah.
That's okay.
As
And
you
that's
should.
okay,
As you should. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that'll be a blast. Okay, so last thing before we wrap up, if you could give one action step, one thing that somebody could do as soon as they finish out this episode, what would you tell somebody to do that's overwhelmed, maybe exactly where you were at before we started working together? What would you suggest to them?
That's hard to say one thing. I would actually sit down and write what you actually want and why. And if you're struggling to do that on your own, get a trainer. Like, go to a gym that you feel like is going to add value, not just like signing up for a gym. You don't know what any of the equipment is. I promise you, like for me, like like I said, I hated working out. My friend used to drag me to the gym and she would do these crab walks all the time. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, I don't want to do that. But I love, for me personally, I love going to the gym. The trainer already has your workout on the board. You're working out with people. You get that like community feel. And so if community is really important for me, knowing your why, and if you are struggling, like hire somebody and download my fitness pal. It's free. Like write down like what you're doing so you can actually see what you're doing with your body. And they will help you with your macros in there, but it's not totally fine tuned like Taryn's going to help you do. It's like way off actually.
It
But I
is, but
mean,
it's
that's
a
a
good
start.
starting point, right?
It's
Like
a
it's a
start.
great tool, and that's all that
Well,
it should be looked at. It's a tool,
Yeah.
right? It's not a metric of, eat these many calories because, it's a calorie based app. We'll be honest about that. But I love what you shared. So thank you for saying that. And just to kind of circle back to that first part is write down what and why you want it. Like what is it that you want? Because I think we put so much emphasis on, well, I want to be this weight. Okay, well, what the fuck does that even mean?
Right. Why? Where's your
So,
why?
yeah, exactly. So I really love that you shared that. So thank you for sharing that because I think a lot of us just skip that step because we want the end result. And for some reason, we think that number is going to mean something,
Right.
but we haven't figured out what it means. So figure out what that means first. Why is that number important? If it is a number, why is that pant size important? Why is it important to have a six pack? Like, who gives a shit? Unless you are
Yeah.
looking to grace the stage in a bikini competition, which
Right.
fantastic, great.
Yeah.
But write it down. Like, why is it important to you to accomplish something like that or to get to that end result? So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. And thank you for your time. I know you've got,
Oh yeah.
umpteen dozen other things to do, and you spent your afternoon with me. So I'm grateful for that. And just really grateful that you trusted me through this process. So I'm really honored to have had the chance to work with you. So,
Oh my gosh. I mean, everyone who's listening, hire her. Like, just do it. Don't overthink it. Like, don't overthink anything that's going to add value, and know that you're going to get uncomfortable, and know that you're going to be sore, or you're going to be a little bit more hungry, or whatever that means to you. Like the first couple weeks, like you might not be able to sit on the toilet if you never worked out. Don't let that discourage you.
absolutely. Yeah.
Do not let that discourage. It is part of the process, and being uncomfortable and working through that process is going to make you a fucking badass with the right people that you hire. Like,
100%. Well, I wanted to make sure that everybody went to go see the reel that you posted with your results. So if you guys go find Brittney at Free Lady Co. I know you have a couple Instagrams, but Free Lady Co. You'll be able to find it there. And she's just got so many great things and just really the real deal. So Brittney, you're amazing. Thank you again for being here. And I'll make sure to drop in the show notes where you can find Brittney, any resources that we talked about today. But I am grateful for all of you guys that took time out to listen to Brittney's story and to want to be a part of this podcast because it wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you and all of those
oh,
that have influenced me to be on this platform and have shared it with their friends and people in their life. So I'm grateful for that. So with that, thank you again for your time. You guys have a kick-ass rest of your day, and I look forward to chatting with you guys here soon. Take care.
yeah. Thanks, everybody.